You were born to do this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by my self-reflective co-host, Tucker Hazel. And we're here today to talk about our New Year's resolutions for 2022, but only the gaming ones, because who cares about progressing as a person beyond
I
beyond
don't
the
want to
context
get
of this?
fit. I don't want to do better in my classes.
No.
I don't want to find a healthy relationship.
No. You want to play Chameleon Twist.
That's unfortunately not on my list, but there's a number of things that are.
But Tucker, before we give our resolutions, if the audience wants to give theirs and talk to us more directly, well, then they should join the Discord. The link to that, as usual, top of the description or down there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell.
Yep.
But Tucker, drink it in. Drink it in. Drink it in. Hold on.
2022 is here. We had a New Year's resolution episode last year, which I actually, hold on, let me take it out of the trash. I did the math on how well we did, and neither of us got over 50% of what we wanted to do. We actually very close to tied. Abram only won by like basically semantics.
Yes.
And so I need to beat him this year, basically.
So Tucker, actually, in service of that, I feel like I've made these vaguer and more attainable than last year.
Oh, okay. I didn't take that route, but it could pay off for you significantly.
I'm a man of strategy, Tucker.
That's a great
but,
point.
but I'm also a man of 8 different resolutions that I want to talk with you about.
Okay, I've got more than that in terms of variety, because I basically just took a similar path to what I did last year in terms of specific games, some large scale ones, and a couple that I have to recommend you.
Sure.
But also what we learned now that we are doing our second round of this is this doesn't mean fucking anything, frankly.
No.
Frankly, neither of us care. The idea of meeting back in a year and saying who won for nothing, for a pat on the back if you want to, like, that's the closest we're going to get to any kind of repercussions for not doing our gaming resolutions.
We're just going to sit here and click like a couple of hens from 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes about some things we want to do this year. But so I guess you should go first, and if you need to give 2 before I give 1, go for it. I don't know how many you have.
But it's hard to count.
Who gives a shit? Just say something.
My first thing is a pretty large scale one, but it's something that I've been coming to terms with over the course of the last few months, especially. I would like to be more comfortable with not finishing games. I've noticed that I've played a lot of games. I've not finished a lot of games, but I always have this thing in the back of my mind that I can't talk about a game unless I've finished it, even if it's something that I've played halfway through, even if something that I've put enough time into to feel satisfied. I always like, well, okay, I shouldn't discuss it. I shouldn't rank it. I shouldn't feel confident about it because I haven't rolled credits on it and seen like the story to completion and the mechanics to completion, and all of that. And that's not feasible for someone of my stature who likes to play such a variety of games. I like jumping around, and I've tied myself down a little too much. And I didn't beat pack picks last year, and I'm totally comfortable with that. But like the fact that I didn't finish Final Fantasy VII, which I'd like to do, it bugs me to this day. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh God, I didn't finish that game. I'm wiping the tears from my eyes because I spent all night bawling,
No, I think that's very reasonable. I think there's a sort of like myopia within the more hardcore circles that people finish their games.
Yeah.
For me, I like to. I like that sense of completion. And if I don't, it's usually because I don't like a game particularly much.
Sure.
And so take that for what you will, but I think the overarching point is you don't love a game less because you didn't reach the credits in it. If you had a good time with it, who really cares ultimately? Mm-hmm. No one's holding a fucking gun to your head and telling you you gotta finish.
Trying to pull one out of his ass right now. That's where that face is.
I was trying not to shit on the floor. I'm constipated. That's unrelated, but no, you get the point.
Yeah.
Let me give my number 1. Then this one's a little bit complicated, so we'll just take it as it is. I want to complete as many games as I did last year.
Sure.
But I want to have less unique completions. Effectively, what I want to do is I want to play more games for the first time this year, but I want to replay them more. And I want to replay older games more. Because I don't think, and I've come to realize this across basically every medium that I enjoy, that I do not get everything or nearly everything out of experiencing something once.
Sure.
Even just in the case of not a popular opinion here in our Discord, but having seen Dune 3 times in the 2 months between when it came out and the beginning of this year, I learned more about it every time. In the case of the Halo games, I gained a much deeper appreciation for how Combat Evolved was designed because I played it twice, right?
Yeah.
And so my goal this year is to do that more. My goal is to replay more games and have a deeper understanding for my own personal edification about the games I really enjoy, opposed to just playing more so I have more things completed.
Sure. Yeah, interesting. I mean, we have very different game playing philosophies. We have different gameplay philosophies as well, but this structure, is pretty not archetypical, but antithetical.
Diametrically opposed.
Diametrical. But so I really respect you going for that. And it'll be interesting to see which ones you choose to replay and how this shakes out by the end of the year. But that's what this is all for. Putting out in the ether, me rewatching this video halfway through the year and then at the end of the year and realizing, nope, none of this happened, because that's probably what's gonna happen.
It's probably what's gonna happen. But you're right.
I'm just gonna pull a random one out of my game list here. This is not that random because I'd like to beat Half-Life 2, believe it or not. I said this last year, and I kind of like the idea that I never play it, and every year I'm like, I want to play it. Of course, I want to play Half-Life 2. I mean, it's one of the games, and I'd like to have it under my belt, but I'm just saying to say it, frankly.
No, I feel like this is a compelling bit, but also I don't remember that you said that last year.
I do, because I watched the video again.
See, here's the thing. You plant in jokes for yourself because you rewatch Backlog Banter content more than the Backlog Banter audience does.
I know. I'm more.
And so I like the idea that you start to weave narratives for your own enjoyment. That's something I'm gonna have to keep an eye on.
And the more I reference them, the more people will realize that they exist, and they'll start noticing them as well. So I'm forcing jokes into existence. Of course, that's always the best path to take.
Tucker, I'm going to hit you with my next one. This is a pretty big one and a pretty common one here, but I only want to purchase new games that I have a personal interest in. Now let me expound.
Yeah.
There's one big caveat, and that caveat is if I need a game for work. Believe it or not, I'm going to buy it for my job.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I feel like, and I was guilty of this a lot back in high school, less so now, but of just buying games because other people are playing them. And that's a very valid way to play, because you actually put out what I felt was a pretty compelling Twitter thread about this a couple weeks ago, about playing to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
But that's not really how I play or how I enjoy personally.
Yeah. Well, you don't like talking to people.
No, I do my best to avoid it. But like I bought things like Resident Evil Village last year.
Yeah.
Or other things to that extent.
Yeah, I remember that happening because Tanner and I were playing it, and you're like, and you just like hit the buy button and you just went playing, and then you complained about it.
And it's like there's no point in me doing that. It's not frankly for me, because I could much more easily be playing an older classic or a hidden gem or something that I hadn't experienced before than the next hot thing because it's hot. Like Dying Light 2, people are like, "Ooh, I can't wait for Dying Light 2." And I'm like, maybe I want to try Dying Light 2, and I had to fucking smack myself and be like, "No,
wake up."
Why would you do that? Why would you play Dying Light 2? And the reason is because it's new, because people are trying to have a conversation about it. And I'd rather leave that to the conversationalists like Tucker Hazel in the room.
Sure. Yeah, I like to conversationalize. Let's see. Hop back to something else. I would like to try more multiplayer games this year. I'm not a multiplayer gamer, and that has been something that leaves a lot of holes in my knowledge, especially something like when I'm trying to rectify this year by playing Call of Duty games, because that fixes a hole in my knowledge in that way. But I'm not playing the multiplayer of these Call of Duty games for the most of them, because most of them aren't active anymore. So I can't. But just in general, like I plan to, at the moment, we'll see if it happens, play a little bit of Rainbow Six Extraction. I'd like to try more co-op games, whether that's playing with you or more than likely not, because you shit the bed whenever you think about co-op. But just using the PS Plus and Xbox Game Pass online memberships that I have, because I have them and I should get my money's worth, I guess, but also because a lot of these games pass me by because I'm very focused on being a single player gamer. And just if I dabble in 10 different multiplayer games over the course of this year, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good goal. I mean, it was very fun playing Battlefield. So
yeah, exactly.
I love hopping. That sort of round-based stuff doesn't trigger my flight or my just ignore you whenever you want to play a co-op game reflex. So
yes,
if you
It's a pretty strong reflex too.
yes. So if you can ever
There are two reflexes in Abram's body. One of them is the fucking hit his
gag
knee on a
reflex.
hammer, and then I didn't think you had that one. And the other one is, hey, Abram, let's play. Let's take two tonight. It takes two tonight. Okay. 3 days later.
But get your fucking Xbox to download Destiny so you can play Witch Queen.
Oh, actually, downloaded. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh,
Destiny downloaded on my Xbox.
Oh,
We could go play Destiny after this if you'd like to, and I actually kind of would like to. We'll talk about it later.
I have to install it. I hate to tell you.
Open up your phone now.
I don't have that connected. I don't really know how.
How is that possible? How is that possible?
I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to use it. My next recommendation for myself, some might call it a resolution, but I said the word wrong at first, is that I want to play more Sega games below the tier of Sonic, Monkey Ball, Yakuza. So
Sure.
I want to go into like the Jet Set radios again. I want to try something like a Crazy Taxi. I want to
Star.
Panzer Dragoon is one that I'm imminently going to play.
Oh, damn it, Earl.
Yeah, I actually just bought Panzer Dragoon Ordo. But I even want to go deeper, like Radiant Silver Gun. And I'm just pulling out that because I also have that installed on my Xbox right now. But Sega, particularly Saturn and Dreamcast, is such a rich era of overlooked games that I am completely unfamiliar with on a personal level. So that's one of my goals, is to try a couple more of those this year.
Sure. Yeah. I believe you had the goal to play Sega games last year, and I think Jet Set Radio and
yeah, I played Jet Set. I played Judgment. I played Monkey
Ball. Okay. No, never mind. You fulfilled that. But yeah, good for you. I'm gonna do a double hitter of personal game recommendations. Some might call them resolutions here. Is I would like to try the Killzone and Resistance franchises. I own all three mainline entries in both series. And frankly, I don't know anything about them. They are such big. Well, okay, they're not that big of holes in my gaming knowledge because I don't really give a shit about them anymore. But just knowing what PlayStation's FPS franchises are like and why they were important and popular enough to get 3+ entries in both series, I'm very fascinated by the fact that they aren't talked about anymore, and that Sony does not have an FPS franchise anymore. And 2 of them went by the wayside, and I'd like to at least see what they're about.
Yeah, I would like to play those.
Yeah.
My next one is that I want to identify and complete another JRPG that I actually enjoy. I'm setting what feels like a 1 a year quota to find a new JRPG I like. I was thinking of that. I don't think one existed. So I already failed.
Well, you wouldn't know because you deleted all your lists about what games.
No, I maintained the list of games I completed. And as I'm scrolling through this one right here, I think that the only JRPG I played last year was Pokemon Brilliant Diamond.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I tried, what's it called?
Persona?
No, that was 2 years ago.
Oh, I don't remember. 2020 is not real.
It was Tales of Arise, and I thought it was boring.
Oh yeah, you got that for your birthday.
It's in my Xbox right now.
Yeah, because it's like one of the only physical Xbox games you own, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I found a new Western RPG I loved in Knights of the Old Republic, but I want to play another JRPG this year that I love the way I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. And Tucker, I'm thinking that game is probably Chrono Trigger.
Oh man, I'll play Chrono Trigger with you if that ends up actually becoming a thing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that's the headlining one, but I feel like I'm sticking to my guns on Chrono Trigger right now because I think it's very possible that when that Chrono Cross remaster gets announced, Chrono Trigger comes to more modern platforms.
Possibly. So, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. But my goal is to identify and complete one JRPG this year that I actually enjoy.
All right, another double hitter here. A fill-in from last year. One of them is I want to play Galaxy 2. It's the last 3D Mario game that I have to play. I like 90% of the 3D Mario games, and I'm sure I'll enjoy Galaxy 2 to at least a certain extent. And just why haven't I played Galaxy 2? Unclear. It's literally right there. It's been there for 2 years.
That's a game. That's a good game.
And I'd also like to polish off the 2D Metroid series. The only 2 entries I have left are Zero Mission and Samus Returns. I have access to both of them, and I just haven't played them yet because I played two other 2D Metroid games last year. So I think I can handle 2 pretty reasonably length games.
I think you can
A
handle
franchise that I enjoy.
a total of 12 hours of Metroid content in the next 365 days. But
Yeah.
no, those are all great games you just listed there. So
Ping!
here's a two-parter that involves both my aptitude as a man with my hands and my fulfillment upon an old goal that I made progress towards, but was stopped by material conditions.
Mhm.
I would like to fix my Japanese GameCube and complete Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Oh, wow. That's very specific.
Because
That's significantly more specific than most of your predictions.
Because if you remember from last year, I wanted to play Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah.
And so I tried 3. I didn't quite feel it.
You did?
Yeah, if you remember.
Oh, you talked about that, but I totally wiped that from my memory. Oops.
But I felt
I put that logo in the BLB episode
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
I felt my fucking balls, Tucker, that I had to start with Metal Gear Solid 1, right? I played a little bit of the original MGS last year too, but I didn't find it to be particularly compelling mechanically. Tried 3, I'm like, but I really need to begin with Twin Snakes. So I finally got a Japanese copy of Twin Snakes for my birthday from my parents.
Has English on it, how he'll be playing.
Yes. The game is in full English, which is quite rare for games of that era. But then my fucking disc reader, the little fucking laser gem jewel eye thing on the GameCube, or Japanese GameCube, stopped reading the disc. These discs are in pristine shape. There's nothing wrong with my copy of Twin Snakes. It has everything to do with that disc reader. So I need to fix that because I started and was really enjoying Twin Snakes, actually. I thought the game was really fucking cool. So my goal this year is to actually see that to the end.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about Metal Gear recently. I would give nothing more than to wake up one day and in my mind have finished the entire Metal Gear series, because I would love to be a Metal Gear fan, but I do not want to put in the effort of playing 5 fucking Metal Gear games.
Yeah.
It's not on my list this year. I would like to. This is not one of my official self fucking predictions. I'd love to play the Metal Gear games, and I think personally, and what I've heard, it would make sense for me to play them in order like that. I've dabbled in a couple of them, but not enough to know what the fuck's happening. Metal Gear Solid 1 is on my plate for the next 10 years of my life.
Well,
within the next decade, I'll have beaten a fucking 25-year-old game.
It's good to set long-term goals.
Yeah, of course.
Usually about buying land or something, but
I want to get into the silver trade.
I'm gonna, you know what? Let's keep it thematic here for a second.
No, hold on, it's my turn. That was not a real one. Yeah, stupid. But I need to do a lot more because I think you're wrapping up, but I'm not.
No, I'm not. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 games to recommend to you.
Oh, okay. Then we're actually on a good pitch here. The other 2 other one-off games that I'd like to finish, I'd like to play this year, are Heavy Rain and, believe it or not, Halo 3. Those are 2 games on my to play list.
Yeah, Heavy Rain is one. It's not. I don't. When I wake up in a fucking drunken stupor in an alley one day with a PS3 hooked up to a flat screen monitor with Heavy Rain on it, I'll play it, but it's not a super high priority.
Yes.
And I was thinking about recommending you Halo 3 because we're giving each other some suggestions towards the end here, but I figured they'd be on the list somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say, to keep thematic off of Twin Snakes, one of my last individual game things that I want to play this year is I want to run back another Kojima game that I started and never finished, and that is Death Stranding. Ooh. I really want to play Death Stranding.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
And I really want to play the director's cut, but I really don't want to pay for the director's cut. And I got a PlayStation. That's the only thing I didn't get. What I was trying to say is I got an Xbox gift card and an eShop gift card for Christmas, but not a PlayStation gift card.
Sure.
And I just don't want to shell out my own ducats for that game because the problem is I have a physical copy on PS4, right?
Why?
I can't put that in my digital. On the
that
PS5.
Was a terrible. That was a really poor marketing decision on my point.
I used money that was supposed to be used for like school supplies to buy myself a copy of Death Stranding.
That would be interesting. It'd be really interesting for you to get into Death Stranding. I have very low hopes, not because I don't believe in it, which is, for the most part true. But I know that I played it, probably played about the same amount, and I just did not care enough to keep going. Not that
Yeah.
there isn't a good game there, not that I wouldn't enjoy it if I didn't go back, but also the length of that game, the pace of that game, it's something that is very hard to just slot into your game playing life, especially in a year that is so packed. So while I would love to have played through Death Stranding at some point in my life, this is even less imminent than Metal Gear Solid 1.
No, I think that's fair. I will tell you, Tucker, that sometimes, like some random times, I'll get out of the shower or be like fucking opening a cupboard, and I'll just say to myself, I'm fragile, but not that fragile.
No,
That's what it is.
No, it's not. It's I'm
Fragile.
Fragile.
Yeah.
Fragile is her name.
Yeah. I'm fragile, but I'm not that. Yeah.
That fragile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Kojima sure is a man who makes video games.
Leah Seydoux is one of my celebrity crushes, so maybe I'll play that game just for fucking her.
Would you eat floating bugs with Leah Seydoux?
I would. Yes. There's no fucking question about it. Actually, in a somewhat similar vein to Death Stranding, similar era, similar scope, I'd love to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I think that's one of the biggest games, most highly claimed games of last generation.
That is one of the biggest, most highly acclaimed games
that I would really like to play. Yeah. But the reason I put it in the same shoes as Death Stranding is this is on here because of all those reasons I listed. But man, it's going to be hard to slot fucking Red Dead Redemption 2 into my game playing diet over the course of next year. Maybe this is something I do over the summer. Maybe it's a spring break game for me or something like that. But it's so large and meaty, like many things in my life, that I really can't swallow it.
The problem with Red Dead Redemption 2 is that it's 50 hours long.
Yeah.
And it is a slow 50 hours.
Yeah.
I played.
What's the HLTP for Death Stranding?
It's also 50 hours.
That's and that's another slow game. That's right. Yeah. Well, it says 40 and a half on
HLTP. But the thing about it is, because I played probably 15 hours of Red Dead 2, and I think it is a remarkable game, but I just did not have the fucking gumption for it. But I actually, Tucker, and perhaps as imminent as today, I'm going to be starting Red Dead 1 on the bone.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's not the bone anymore. I guess it is still the bone. It's not. No, it's not. The bone is the Xbox One.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the sex, not the bone. This is
the sex.
Yes.
I have the sex.
But no, I want to play Red Dead 1. That's not a resolution that I'm actually about to do it. But my next one, Tucker, actually, speaking of games like Red Dead 1, which actually, well, I guess it ties into resolution because I'm a man of synergy, is I want to dig into 7th generation classics that I missed.
Okay.
Such as,
yes, and
I particularly note this one, BioShock.
Okay. I thought that might be where that was going, but I didn't want to get my fucking hopes up.
The 7th generation is probably my least favorite, frankly.
Okay, sure.
I don't find what those pieces of hardware did to be especially compelling. Mm-hmm. And I find just the sort of look of a lot of 7th generation games kind of yucky. And I think that for the most part, what 7th generation games did was done in a more embryonic state, but in a more interesting state in the 6th generation, and then in a more polished and high fidelity state in the 8th generation.
Yes.
But there are games there in between that I really want to play. BioShock, Spec Ops: The Line I just played.
Yes.
Red Dead.
Did you finish it? Is it?
Yeah, I finished Spec Ops.
How long's that fucking game? Didn't you start it today?
Started it last night. I think it's like 4 hours, maybe 5. Probably closer to 4 though. I can check my play clock, but that's a short one. But there are games in there from that generation that I feel like I missed that I want to play.
Yeah.
Because it's a big blind spot for me. And there's another one that I isolated in particular that we'll get to in a second. But 7th gen I want to dig a little bit deeper into beyond the exclusives, which I have played some of. So
yeah. The 7th generation is one that fascinates me, but because it's kind of the weird, awkward stage.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of has a very strong identity, but this is just transitioning between PS3
kind of had
and
online.
But that's true, but that doesn't really it doesn't matter anymore because those games aren't available online anymore, and also because online gaming is a staple now. It's not special to play games online. But I have a weird fondness for especially early PS3 launch era games, like these forgotten fucking titles that no one cares about anymore, and a lot of them are online, which means they can't really be played anymore. But the fact that they exist and no one talks about them makes them special to me. So I'm
Sure.
on a parallel to you of fascination with that era. But in a similar vein, to playing a specific era of games, I would like to play, and this is sort of carrying over a momentum that I started earlier this year. I'd like to play more PS4 exclusives that I never gave a try.
Indubitably.
The list tentatively, just as examples, Infamous Second Son, Last Guardian, and Knack.
Sure.
These games that I have no experience with that are important because they're Sony titles, but have basically no cachet anymore. I find fascinating. So those 3 games are on my list, but mostly because they represent that concept.
When I think of important PlayStation games, I think of Infamous Second Son and Knack.
Yes.
Um, if we're talking about exploring areas, Tucker, let's talk about my next resolution, which is to play more original Xbox titles.
Oh.
Particularly ones that are backwards compatible, so I can play them on my Series X. That actually is one of them. But I pulled out a couple as examples.
Blink's Time Sweeper.
Max Payne, which I'd like to play.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm actually quite interested in Max Payne. I just bought that on sale. But Crimson Skies. Where the fuck is it?
He's got a game to show us.
Jade Empire.
Oh, I didn't know you have that. Why do you have that? When did you get that? Fucking answer right now.
I went to a retro shop when I was back home in Maine because I wanted to buy original Xbox titles that were backwards compatible with my Series X, just to try it out, which of course I haven't done yet. But of the ones they had, most of them weren't back compatible. The 2 I ended up buying were this and KOTOR 2.
Yeah, tracks.
But no, so the other one is Fable, but I'd probably play the 360 version of Fable. But just throwing out some of those, because I want to be more familiar with Xbox's origins there on that console. So
yeah,
just throwing that out there.
Okay, I have 3 more.
I have 1 more personally, and then 3 games to recommend you.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick double hitter here. Actually, spinning off of what you just said, similar to you playing Xbox games, I just like to play more Xbox franchises. I've just gotten into owning an Xbox. Believe it or not, I got a couple months ago, and now I have access to the majority of their library and their back catalog. And so I'd like to at least have played Gears 1 and Hellblade. Those are kind of my tentative baseline for at least trying Xbox franchises, but it's something I'm very excited to dig into now that I have access, and I have been. I've tried Psychonauts and Halo and Forza and I'm now playing the Medium, which is actually not an Xbox Studios game. I thought it was. It's not published by them. It's not. It just had exclusivity for like 6 months. I
believe because they don't own Bloober Team. I don't believe. I could be wrong about that. But I mean, you do, Tucker. You are doing a monthly Xbox show. Think about it. Think it through. Take your time. Take a deep breath. What's your monthly Xbox show? Take a deep breath. Think about it. Yes, you have one. Think about it.
Back Cod Banter, because they now own actors. Yeah.
I'll be very curious to hear what you think of Gears 1 in particular, because I tried playing Gears 1, but I just think the game is so yucky.
Yeah.
Just not in terms of the gore. I don't give a shit about that, but in terms of just the aesthetic and the just over the top fucking steroided out traditional cover shooting. Like Gears 1 is so important, but I just don't. It's just yeah. I don't like Gears. I want to finally play the Mass Effect trilogy.
That's a big commitment.
It is, but it's not that big is the thing about it, because those games are only individually about 15, 20 hours long, right? So I could play one a fucking quarter and I'd still have an extra quarter left of the year. But Mass Effect is in this place where I know for a fact that these will be some of my favorite games of all time once I play them.
Yeah.
Right? Sci-fi Western RPGs that gameplay is primarily third-person shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That's right up my alley. And I have read a lot about Mass Effect because when I was working at CBR, one of our major content pillars was Mass Effect content, especially when the Legendary Editions dropped.
Of course.
And so I know a lot about these games already. And the thing about it is, I had the originals on Game Pass, so I didn't feel like I could justify the cost of the Legendary Edition, but then I didn't feel like I could play the originals because they weren't the Legendary Edition versions. See what I mean? But now the Legendary Edition is on Game Pass.
True.
It's on my Xbox. I downloaded it before I went to California. So Mass Effect, cannot wait to play it.
Yeah. For me, my last 2 things are I'd like to try an Assassin's Creed game. That is that's the lowest stakes you can possibly fucking get. No specific game, no beating it, nothing. I want to have tried Assassin's Creed. I bought a bunch of them for cheap as piss with some Christmas money. So I have access to a lot of them. But yeah, Assassin's Creed, one of the biggest holes in my gaming knowledge. So I'd like to at least try one. And also, I'd like to write more reviews. I don't know how this really factors in. I obviously I don't have a job at a site like you do, but I can just write them on backlog if I want to. But also, might be fun to try to put them up somewhere. But who knows? But regardless, I love looking back at reviews that I've written, and I'd love to be able to look back on reviews that I will write after I will have written them. There's a lot of like future perfect going on here, but you get what I'm saying.
I think you should start a blog. I really do.
I have one. I don't know the login to it.
Well, the thing is, like, not on Tumblr or something, like a WordPress blog for yourself. Like, set up a proper site that you can design and do stuff on. I think that'd be awesome. I would read it every time you publish something on there. I'm telling you right now.
I got a reader. Boing.
Tucker, I have 3. My last 3 things are 3 games I want you to play.
Same here. Perfect synergy.
What's interesting, Tucker? Okay. Now, each of these, with the exception of one of them is a trilogy, but you can pick the first game in the trilogy. I've only played 1 entry in it, but on the whole, I have
just say it.
But no, what I'm saying is, because I'm a man who likes a little bit of preamble, as you know.
I know.
Almost
with the people. Never for a more perfect unit. You know what I'm saying?
I have played almost none of these games I'm recommending you.
Fascinating.
Because I wanted to recommend games that I think would enrich you, not so I could impart my taste upon you. So the first one I want to start with, Tucker, is Days Gone. I want you to play Days Gone.
That fits very nicely into the weird PS4 exclusive slot.
Well, that's the thing, for a number of reasons. Not only is another PlayStation 4 exclusive for you, but it would allow you to start to build out a little bit of an experience with Bend Studio. Because they made Golden Abyss, you love Golden Abyss. Now you can see what they can do with their own IP. And if you and I think that might be a little bit more accessible in like Siphon Filter, which I'm not sure. You might be able to get Siphon Filter like 1 or 2 on Vita. I'm not sure about that as PS1 classics, but I figured Days Gone would check that PlayStation 4 box for you and that Sony Bend box for you. So
yeah, good rec. Now, interesting one. The first one is the Stanley Parable. That's not a very large commitment, but the caveat being Ultra Deluxe comes out. That obviously to be the ideal way to play it. I like
Robobot more than Ultra Deluxe.
No.
My next recommendation for you, Tucker, is the Hitman trilogy.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Now, I have only played Hitman 3, but the reason I said the Hitman trilogy is because the Hitman trilogy is now on Game Pass.
It is.
Which is how I intend to, not imminently, but sometime this year, check out Hitman 1 and 2. Because I think 3 is exceptional. And I think you're going to really love how deliberately designed these games are in the ways that they have so many different options and there's so much rich world building within the context of these hits. I think it's super digestible too. You can beat a Hitman game in easily less than 10 hours, but then you can replay it to find new paths. I think these games are right up here.
Yeah, I've always been at least titillated by them in some part. So the fact that it's on Game Pass and very accessible now, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
This is the true wreck of my 3 here. The Stanley Parable, very low stakes, but I really think you should play Unravel. I think it has a Nintendo-esque charm and polish to it that I think will draw you in. And knowing that you are a fan of platformers in general, I think this is one of the best. And I really do think you'd love this game, which is why I'm recommending it.
Sure. Now, Tucker, this is a crazy recommendation, but I want you to play Armored Core 5.
Now, this is funny to me because no one else knows this, but before we started recording, I was on backlog and I was giggling to myself because what I was doing is going through my wish list and trying to find the most random, obscure game that I could suggest to you that has nothing to do with anything that I don't particularly care about, that you don't care about. So my final recommendation to you is Twisted Metal Black. We actually did about the exact same thing here.
But see, Tucker, I didn't. Armored Core 5 was a deliberate choice.
Uh-huh.
The reason being is
I
because
deliberately looked through my wish list for something stupid.
but here's the thing. Armored Core is
fucker.
Armored Core is a From Software franchise.
Yeah.
And I want you to play a non-Souls From Software game.
Okay.
And see if you can identify a commonality there which you enjoy, or if it's really just the Miyazaki From games that interest you.
Yeah, sure.
At the same time, there's rumors of an Armored Core 6. And so to prepare for Armored Core 6, I think you should play Armored Core 5.
That's a great point.
Frankly,
I don't even know what Armored Core gameplay looks like. Not gonna lie.
It's a third-person mech action game, and it's got a really complex control scheme. So people often play Armored Core by holding the controller backwards, like this, so they can touch all of the buttons. This is true information I'm giving you. I think that Armored Core is a really niche part of gaming history that you would appreciate. At the same time, it's from a studio that you've come to really love over the past year.
Yeah. And
it would allow you to position yourself to be in the zeitgeist for a new From game after Elden Ring.
Sure. Is Armored Core 5 on Game Pass or at least available in the store?
Well, what I did for you is as I looked and I thought, what is going to be an accessible one for you to play? And I figured probably just the newest one. And it is on PlayStation 3 and 360. I bet you could probably find it on the Xbox store.
Sure. I'll do some research later. It's no big deal. It's your rec. My Twisted Metal Black recommendation has zero reason behind it.
What's funny though is I like that one's on PS2.
Okay,
right?
fine. Fuck you. Dark Sector.
Twisted Metal Black is a PS2 game, right?
Probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
I actually want to play a Twisted Metal game for two reasons. First of all, because there's apparently a new one coming from Fire Sprite, which is kind of interesting.
In the show.
Yeah, and because I really like David Jaffe. I listen to David Jaffe quite often on his YouTube show. So I'd be quite interested in trying a Twisted Metal game.
Well, I don't know how you're going to access Twisted Metal Black. Actually, I do think it might be on PS Now, which is, something you can get, but
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But
you know what? It might be on Spartacus.
Yeah, when Spartacus comes out and disappoints me, but I buy a subscription anyway, I will play Twisted Metal Black.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our 2022 gaming resolutions. I think this went very well. It'll be fun to see how little of it we did in approximately 1 year.
Tucker?
Yeah.
I don't appreciate you trying to hijack my intro. Please apologize.
I'm sorry.